Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and right now we are covering Visions Volume 2, I Am Your Mother. And joining me for these discussions is my good friend, Hammie. Welcome, Hammie.
Hi. So excited, as usual.
And this one I was looking forward to, and I actually missed it at Celebration. They got to see it. I missed this panel.
Oh, really? I'm jealous.
They got to see this one, and I was like, this is the one I wanted to see, just because this is our first chance to see stop motion animation.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I was going to say it makes sense that they would show this one in London because it is from the British studio Aardman, who also do Wallace and Gromit, which is one of my favorite. I love Wallace and Gromit. So I was really excited to see this one.
And the director herself, Magdalena Orsinka, is actually a Polish person. And so she kind of has like a different vibe, I think, than the typical Wallace and Gromit. Although this whole cartoon felt like a Wallace and Gromit Star Wars episode, which
it definitely felt like that. Let me see. What was in Visions Volume 1, the one that was set on Tatooine? It felt very similar to that in terms of darkness.
Oh, like very lighthearted.
Yes, very lighthearted. So
they did like the concert.
Yes. Tatooine Rhapsody. Duh. I should have known that one. Okay. Yeah, Tatooine Rhapsody. I would say it's comparable to that. I think I like it better than Tatooine Rhapsody, but say just from a critical perspective of each of these episodes, I would say it would fall into line like that. It felt very similar in terms of tone. And there is a race too. So
yeah, which is great. I know that the director spoke about how she wanted to focus on a mother-daughter relationship, which is not something that we see a lot of in Star Wars. And
Yes, no, we definitely want that. I mean, I think we were all, Resistance has it, and we were all so excited to see that. So we definitely want more like mothers and daughters.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole setup is so good. So we have an intro by Wedge Antilles over the city, introducing the pilot and family race.
It was really cute, and he's animated so cutely too. Like all of them are animated in that style, so it was very, very cute.
Yeah, and he's so funny because he's almost like this icon and like this. It's slightly like influencer-ish.
Yes. Well,
right?
I was gonna say it almost felt like breaking the fourth wall because I know obviously he's like. In fandom, people like him a lot too, right? He's kind of like if you're an original trilogy fan, he kind of stands out for you too because of through fandom. And so same thing. That's how it felt here too.
Yeah, and then he even points out several times his merch for sale and how you can take photos with his standee and I was like, oh my god, this is very funny and very meta in a way because Wedge Antilles is he's a glup shitto for many people that he's their favorite and he has one line it's just anyways, so we see this conversation happen and then we're brought down to below it's kind of below the train tracks or below the city, in the lowest area of the city, which is this sort of starship speeder / RV. It's hard to describe. Yes, that's what it really was. It's like a family trailer. That's actually what, because once you go inside you can see our main character is Annie. So she's probably a teenage girl. You can see her bed is kind of also part of the living room. It's all kind of just one room. And so she lives there with her mom. And I loved her mom. I absolutely fell in love with her. Her mom, Kalina, she just cares so much about Annie. But she's kind of flighty too. So it kind of seems like she doesn't know what's going on. I'll make the comparison later, but this felt beat for beat like the Goofy movie, where it has Goofy as the dad. And I don't think anyone expected the Goofy movie to kind of be a tearjerker, but it was because it's about a father-son relationship and her Goofy son Max has to learn to appreciate him. So this was very much similar where Kalina, the mom, is kind of flighty and not really paying attention or not understanding what Annie wants, not knowing that she has a teenage daughter and that a teenage daughter might want their independence or all that. Well, and also teenagers in general tend to not appreciate what they have in their home because they're looking elsewhere. You think, Luke, I want to go to Tashi Station. I want to go and enjoy the academy. I want to go off planet. They're always looking out and not appreciating what they have in their home, even
even if it's just an RV, but there's lots of love in that RV. Right?
Yes, you can tell instantly that Kalina cares so much about Annie. So Annie's about to leave for the day, and she's kind of hiding the fact that the family race is happening. Annie's in pilot school. She's in the pilot academy, and her mom is like, have a good day, sweetie. And she like makes her a lunch, and she's kind of quirky and is trying to fix this droid, but it's not working. It just really reminded me of Goofy, like so much.
Too much going on all at the same time. Like,
yes,
trying to fix a lunch, trying to get rid of the bugs, trying to fix the droid all at the same time. And the lunch itself is so cool because it makes the face of
I was gonna say it reminded me of like those Japanese like Pinterest lunches where like they make them so intricately. So obviously her mom has put a lot of time and love into this lunch because it looks like Annie. It literally looks like her face. Like it's got little globs of food for her eyes and stuff.
And a little droplet of water falls on the bun, and it's the Insta bun from Ray's.
Yes.
Like home. Like
so it puffs up. The bun puffs up. And then of course then it doesn't look appetizing because it doesn't look like Annie anymore. And then Annie's like, oh, I don't want this. She, classic teenager. And then of course she happens to quote unquote forget her lunch, but really I think she was just kind of like, whatever. And
I don't want weird looking lunch.
Yeah. Because then my friends at school are gonna see the weird lunch. And so she runs off and it's so like I don't know, maybe as an adult I just felt for the mom character so much. I was like, oh, she's like not appreciated. It has a happy ending at the end, but I just felt really bad for her. Like, oh, you forgot your lunch when really she didn't.
Like it's just so classic, teenager mom.
Yeah. And having to grow up. It's just part of it. Yeah.
And like teenage, like you said, Goofy movie, teenage boy and teenage dad, like, or dad relationship, teenager to dad relationship. That's just so classic that the parents do things out of love. And it just comes off as too nurturing or too cringe,
right? Or smothering,
smothering, And it is a very classic story. So we have the setup for the race, and Annie's like, I'm not racing. My mom's busy; she's working, which is of course a lie. The shout out from Wedge Antilles for his wedge themed products.
God.
Purchase merch. I'm like, wow, this is like very metatextual for Star Wars.
It is.
But we have the introduction to the evil family, the Van Riepels.
Ugh, and they're a piece of work. So that's also a mother-daughter team. Yeah. But you can just tell from their outfits and everything. They have like the fancy speeder. They obviously come from money, whereas Annie and her mom don't. But their speeder doesn't seem to have as much love as their ride. So their little home that we said was like a trailer. I guess it's more like an RV. It's probably more like an RV because it is like also it can also be a ship as well.
Yeah.
So the Van Riepel ship, they don't live there. Obviously, they don't live in their ship. It's just like it's black and red and like a fancy. It's just very fancy looking, and so they're mean and they kind of like the daughter too. She's kind of mean to Annie, and you can just tell that Annie's like embarrassed about her family life and her home life. And so what ends up happening is, of course, sweet Kalina, the mom, comes and brings Annie lunch. And when she does, I think when the door opens to the RV.
No, the laundry was hanging off the back at the beginning.
Yes, that's what it is.
So the laundry was on like a clothesline, and so it floats down and interrupts the race.
And it's the mom's bra.
Yeah, it's the bra. And I was like, okay, according to George Lucas, underwear does not exist in space. But you corrected me and said that they have since added underwear. Yes.
I think on it's Jason Fry's Rose Tico, the Resistance Fighter. So since the sequel trilogy, there's like a little printout. Molly from Twitter, she was like talking about it one day, and so Jason Fry himself replied back to her, and he was like, "Is this it?" So yeah, it's from Rose Tico, the Resistance Fighter, and it's a printout from the First Order, and it has it's a laundry list, and it lists like bra and underwear and all of that. So undergarments.
I'm very. So the First Order doesn't have a lot of things going for it, but at least it accepts the need for brasiers.
Yes.
George Lucas denies them.
Yeah.
But I thought it was hilarious. The bra first is this
so embarrassing. Like pretty much everything Annie
visual bra in Star Wars.
Yes. But everything Annie was like worried about basically does happen, where the bra comes floating down and everyone's like, are you kidding? This is, all of her classmates are like, oh gosh, and she feels embarrassed. And so
Annie runs into the RV and her mom is like, "Oh, what's going on? What do you guys? Is there a race
Can we just get out of here?" Like, yeah.
She just wants to leave, and then of course her mom realizes. You can see like the realization come over her. It's very similar to the Goofy movie where Goofy finally gets what's going on, and the mom realizes that it's a family race and that Annie hasn't told her about it. Kalina, the mom, she jumps into action and basically is like, "No, we're racing."
Yeah.
And also when the droid was messing up at the beginning, the droid shows a holo of them when they were younger, and they used to play and pretend to be pilots. It was very, very cute. So the young Annie and the young
and they have nicknames of Red Leader and Red 2, which is so cute. And the mom really kind of ignores the teenagers' like desires, and I feel like this might be controversial in this day and age, like the ignoring the
wishes of the teenager.
I actually feel like this might be semi-controversial. Like, how dare you embarrass me, mother? Like, no. Seriously, I do. But she ignores her for the benefit of like being there for her. Because I think that Kalina understands that Annie wants to participate in the race, but would want to only participate if she could be like in a nice speeder or in a and like sometimes you just can't just do things, you can't wait for things to be perfect to try them.
Right.
And that's one of the lessons like of this, right? And your family's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, like you had mentioned, the ship is so full of love that it shouldn't matter in the end. I agree that she was doing the right thing by forcing. She knows what she wants, and also I think
sometimes you have to force your kids to go on vacation. Sometimes you have to force your kids to go and do things, like as a mom, like
or to make the leap.
Yeah, to try things or to experience things. It is. If you always just sort of say, yes, I will do what my child wants to do, they will have tons of picky eater habits. They will have tons of, I don't want to wear this type of shirt because it feels weird. I don't want to do, like, you kind of have to kind of like half listen and like still kind of feel
that is what Kalina literally does, is like half listening, where Annie doesn't think she's picking up on anything, and she's totally in tune and knows what's going on.
Like you have to like be aware, right? But sometimes you just have to like get your kids to experience things.
I was gonna also say I think I've heard from my nieces, and I've done this too, where when you're participating a lot in school, there's sometimes where like you don't tell your parents about stuff. You're kind of like, whatever, they don't need to be there, they wouldn't want to come, but then you realize later, like, oh no, they would have loved to be there, and like like they would have loved to see, they are so proud of you and they love you. So like, you don't tell them about the school play, or like you don't tell them about certain things because you want to be your own self and you want to grow out. But then you realize, like, oh no, if you remember back to when like they would go to every one of your recitals or something like that. So it just seems like Kalina is that kind of mom too, where she would have wanted to know. She would have like been so proud to be like representing their family with Annie. So she forces her hand and they join the race. It was such a fun race. It was so cute.
I do want to call out that I think the planet was named Hannah because of Hanna-Barbera's wacky races.
I love that.
Because it is like a wacky race. Like if you've ever seen that cartoon, it is exactly like that. I shout out to the Wookiee family that decided to all do this together with their little baby Wookiee.
Yeah, that was so cute too.
I love the moment when he like pulls the arms off of his Wookiee doll in a threatening manner. And then they let the Wookiee baby drive.
In character. I was like, that's so in character for a Wookiee. Like,
it's so good. It's a wild race. She ends up like asking the droid to help them out. The droid ends up being on the front of the ship and in danger, so she has to trust her daughter. Hey, daughter, take over and drive this Annie. And she is outside, like,
she's hanging, I think, on the clothesline.
Yeah,
I think so, right?
Yeah, and they say, like, it is a very goofy movie. Exactly like that.
Evil family, the Van Riepels, are kind of like on their tail and trying to shoot them, which I would think that would not be allowed. But
and their laser is a Death Star, so they're obviously like
dark side
Imperial
Empire,
sympathizers, which is classic. Like, we wear our dark side stuff.
Classic bad guys, because their hair is like
fully black and all of that. But yeah, so they're trying to shoot the Kalina and Annie's RV/ship, and they have to do this they call it the Ryloth roll, which was really cute. And so it connects back to the Hollow when Annie was a little girl, that they would try that Kalina had taught her how to do it. And so, like you said, Kalina gives her the controls for the ship. She trusts her to do it, and they do the Ryloth roll, which is kind of flips the ship over in a circle, and they're able to avoid the little blasters from the Van Riepel ship, and they're able to like speed into and then she hits the accelerator and like goes through and wins first place, and then the Van Riepel ship is like destroyed pretty much, like it kind of just like flops over. So they end up winning, and of course she learns to appreciate her mom, which is the end of the Goofy movie too. Max learns to appreciate his dad, and Annie does here as well with her mom.
And there's a certain amount of like in the heroine's journey, what you end up understanding is that there's wisdom that only our mothers really had and can teach us, and that you have to eventually come and reconnect with. To be able to move forward, that their sort of more ancient wisdom of life and experience, and not everything is perfect. In fact, a lot of the time in like the women who run with the wolves and the wild woman archetype, life is actually very messy, and that's okay. And that's the kind of lesson and the takeout of this whole story. And it's done in such a fun and glorious way. I love this. I sat down and I had been watching these on the TV, and my kids like sat down and watched the rest of these with me from this one.
Oh, basically because they saw this one. Well, and of course, to go back to the Wallace and Gromit stop animation style, like that style is just so like you could stare at it forever because it's so cute and so imaginative.
And there's little nuggets like of things like the Jawa that comes and like takes out, the thing that turns off the screen. And then there's little moments and little, like, there's so many things to spot in this, in this world that they've created of Hannah.
Yeah. It was a great one. It was super cute. And I loved the moment at the end when they come to an understanding, mother and daughter. Kalina, the mom, acknowledges that she knows she's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
And they hug.
Yeah. It's okay to find me embarrassing. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Yeah. And like, as a mom myself, like, I've felt this so fully, like, so full, like this whole thing. Like, and like, can you imagine my kids really, at least my eldest, didn't want to go to Europe, didn't want to go away, like didn't want to leave friends, didn't want to do the things. And I'm like, no, you're going to Europe. We're going to Europe. We're going to Star Wars Celebration. We're going to Paris. We're going to London. And not the same, but totally. It is a daily experience for me as a parent to be the cringe part of my child's life. So yeah, it's fine. And at some point they eventually start to appreciate you, and it's really great because then you can move forward and have a relationship that is based on the understanding that as a parent you're trying your best, and that is sometimes all you can do, and that you're not meaning to hurt your child by existing. Right. Yeah.
No, and I agree 100%. No, that's awesome. I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but I could, anyone can relate to, since I am a daughter, I can relate.
Yeah. You've gone through adolescence, like, what this is like. Yeah. Yes, and you can kind of look back on it with that lens and say, like, your parents were trying, they weren't trying to embarrass you, but
they were doing the best they could.
You can't help it. Right. Like, by existing. And sometimes your way of existing is just how you've gotten through, and yeah, it's so cool. All right. Any final thoughts on I Am Your Mother?
Nope. It was a great mother-daughter story. Super cute.
Super cute. All right, Hammie, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
I'm on Twitter @BalancePadawan.
All right. We will be back for the next episode with Journey to the Dark Head. Cheers. Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Melody in Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Carly Ann, Josh Johnson, Scott C., and Susan. Support the show by wearing the Force with our merch. Like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other podcast apps. It helps people find the show. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook. Our website is whattheforce.ca, or you can join the Discord. Links are all in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.
I said I wasn't going to cook, but I probably do want to cook for my mom. She just hasn't been feeling good since we got back from India.
And I just wanted you wanting to cook for your mother.
After this episode we just watched about mothers and daughters.